shape issue.
It's like that is.
Alright, so before we start the video, I just want to say that this format is pretty new to me. I usually talk about gear on stream while I'm testing it, or post gameplay Twitter clips, but this is going to be the first time that I make a full edited review. So if some parts feel rough, I hope you can bear with me. Also, a huge shout out to Potent Gaming for sending out all of the mouse pads and skates used in this review. Thank you so much. Before I get into individual pads, we need to talk about sensitivity, because a lot of what I'm going to say only makes sense if you think in terms of cm per 360. Cm per 360 is simply how many centimeters you have to move your mouse on the pad to do a full 360 in-game. So if it takes you 20 centimeters on your mouse pad to do a 360 horizontally in-game, that is a 20 cm per 360 sensitivity. It is a much more practical version of DPI that can be translated into other games. It also describes what you're actually doing on the mousepad surface. Once you think in cm per 360, fast and slow sense are easier to understand. A fast sense is a low cm per 360. You only move a short distance on the pad to turn around, so your in-game sensitivity is high. A slow sense is a high cm per 360. You need a lot of pad to make the same turn, so your in-game sensitivity is low. This matters because your sensitivity is directly tied to friction. If you play very high cm with a slow sense, your mouse has to travel a long distance. So you can get away with more friction and you rely less on extremely small micro corrections. If you play fast sense with very low cm, any extra stopping power or roughness in the pad can punish your micro adjustments because everything happens in a much smaller physical space. And so this is where glide, firmness, and skates start to matter a lot more. Now for context, I've been playing anywhere from around 2 cm all the way up to 90 cm for this review. Specifically BRs, tag shooters, tracking heavy games, and hero shooters. This is going to be very useful to explain why I started thinking about pads in terms of ranges instead of single numbers. Some pads only feel right inside of a certain cm window. Outside of that, they either become too sluggish or too twitchy. Now, something you probably haven't expected is DPI interacting with all of this. Let me explain. DPI, which is dots per inch, is how many points of data is gathered in a single inch. Even if you have a higher DPI and then lower your sensitivity in game, matching the same cm per 360, you will still have more information being picked up with a higher DPI. That means that someone at 400 DPI versus someone at 3200 DPI, even with the same cm per 360, you will have a lot more visible stuttering on 400 DPI. This happens because you're skipping real-world movements, since the sensor's resolution is too low at 400 DPI for 16 cm. So yes, even if your sensitivity is the same, having a higher DPI with good mouse control could make your accuracy higher, but having a lower DPI can also benefit you. A great example of this is when you hold an angle in a tag shooter. Having a lower DPI when holding an angle makes it so that when you click, as soon as the enemy peeks, you won't accidentally move off of target. And now we'll get to the review section of the video. We will go through each artisan surface, give you the proper cm ranges of each pad, and explain which aim style they suit. First off, the Hien. The Hien is easily one of my favorite mousepads of all time. The Hien is a no-brainer if you can't choose between a tracking or flicking mousepad. It is easily the best in-between that money can buy. Even in soft, it allows the use of dot skates, pill skates, donuts, which usually would require firm. It also works really well on full-size skates. And something specific is it works really nicely with sapphire skates. The Hien really excels in games like Apex Legends and Call of Duty. I would say this mousepad is a no-brainer if you play between 24 and 36 cm per 360, especially if you like to use dot skates all the time. I find myself using this mousepad pretty consistently. It's easily in my top 3 rotation at the moment. Next up is the Hayate Otsu Mid. The Hayate Otsu Mid was my first artisan pad. I originally bought this mousepad 2 years ago because my favorite creators would often use it. and I can confirm that this mousepad is easily the target switching dream. This mousepad has a weird effect that I'd like to call trampoline. Basically, the knitting is extremely tight, and when you slam your mouse down, it rebounds back up very fast. This makes it very easy to skip the liftoff of the mouse sensor. This leads to very fast, snappy flicks. The tighter knit of this mousepad allows for finer movements getting picked up by your mouse. I really think that this is a more polished and superior version to the Hien, with a sweet spot of 17 to 30 cm instead of the 24 to 36 cm of the Hien. And now moving on to the Key83. The Key83 is a very special mousepad, especially in its mid configuration. This is the first mousepad from Artisan where the mid and soft feel completely different, as if they were not even the same pad. It has a very interesting denim-like texture, especially in its mid configuration. I would say that this is the best mid mousepad from Artisan. It easily has the most consistent control and resistance to variability from humidity. It also pairs up very nicely with glass skates and sapphire skates, as well as racing sports or Ren Sport 2s. These attributes give the Key83 mid the most amazing range of CM. It allows for arm, wrist, and wrist only. This is thanks to its high control, yet low friction. The control aspect comes from its texture. It allows you to have a glass-like experience with no deceleration or acceleration. This was easily my favorite mousepad for Marvel Rivals hit scan, especially on Hela. Next up is the Raiden Soft and Raiden Mid. The Raiden lineup is a very special type of mousepad, tailoring towards subtle speed without a hard surface. The weave of the Raiden is very specific. I found it quite difficult to pull down with this mousepad sometimes, especially in its mid configuration. The skates kind of get stuck between the weaves and end up dragging down the entire mousepad along. This is why I tend to prefer the Raiden Soft. The Raiden Soft, which was recently released, has a more uniform weave. It also benefits from the trampoline effect, just like the Hayate Otsu, especially in its soft form. I found the ideal range of CM to be around 20 to 34 for the soft and 12 to 28 for the mid. And now for the Artisan Zero. The Zero is easily Artisan's most famous mousepad. It is extremely popular among the pro scene, especially for tag shooters like Counter-Strike and Valorant. The reason for that is it offers an extremely stable profile. It's extremely consistent, and that's what pros require, because they need to think about other aspects of the game. They don't want to look flashy, so they don't really care about target switching or target transfer speed. And tracking in tag shooters isn't really necessary. So their best bet, without having to resort to the next mousepad, is the Zero. Now the Zero is not more consistent than the Key83 mid, but the issue is that the Key83 mid does not have any padding. And comfort is a big aspect of consistency, especially since 16 hours a day is not uncommon for pro players. And now, the definition of a mud pad, the Type 99.
I can get to you in time.
If you hear people say that the Artisan Zero is slow, they have yet to see what this mousepad can do. This is by far the hardest mousepad to use for people of high sensitivity. In fact, I don't recommend anyone below 28 cm/360 to ever use this mousepad. It is egregiously difficult to get a consistent movement. It almost feels like there is negative accel or deceleration whenever you swipe. I have tested 25 different brands of skates, multiple different materials including ceramic, sapphire, and glass, yet nothing has worked. It was clearly their intention to make it this way. So, if you are an ARM player, this is the mousepad for you. In fact, I've never seen something so specific. It is absolutely the most amazing tag FPS mousepad for an ARM player. As a high sense player, whenever I got a kill with this mousepad, it was an absolute joy because that was a challenge. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. This is only part 1 of a 2-part video. This video was just to lay the foundation. Part 2 will cover all of the skates on the market, the firmnesses and how the skates are affecting them. It will also cover which sleeve is the best for each mousepad. I hope you enjoyed this video. A sub would be very appreciated. And come by my stream sometime. Another shout out to Potent Gaming. Thank you.
Boom.